So welcome everybody. I am Federico Drago from the EGI Foundation. I'm the communications manager of the EOSC Beyond project, and today we will be introducing the first public webinar of the EOSC Beyond project, in which we are going to explore the EOSC Core Innovation Sandbox, one of our key results that's being developed in the project. With me today, we have Nicola Fiore, technical coordinator of the project, also from the EGI Foundation. We have Team Wetzel from DESY, representing the NFDI pilot node in the project. We have Fabrizio Antonio from CMCC Foundation, representing the ENES pilot node in the project. And we have John Shepherdson from CESSDA, representing the CESSDA pilot node. And here I'll give the floor to my colleague Nicola Fiore, who is going to introduce the Innovation Sandbox to you. Remember that you can ask your questions in the Q&A box. They will be addressed at the end after all the presentations. And feel free to type anything in the chat if you want to get in touch with the other attendees. Welcome again. Nicola, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Federico. Could you see my screen? Just to check.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning to all. I'm Nicola Fiore. I'm the EOSC Beyond technical coordinator. Today, I will introduce the EOSC Beyond project, which are the first results that we reached in the first year of the project. After, we will go deeply in the EOSC Core Innovation Sandbox, looking to the development that we did in this last period. Okay, let's start with the EOSC Beyond project, just to give you a large view of the project. The goals of the EOSC Beyond project are to design and to develop the next generation of the core services to support the setup and the federation of the EOSC nodes. We have three main key exploitable results planned. So the first one is to improve the existing EOSC Core services and framework. So we are working to the new version of the AI, the resource catalogs, the monitoring, accounting, and so on. The second main key exploitable result is mainly the EOSC execution framework, an advanced interoperability framework registry that will support the machine composability. The new also EOSC core service will be the EOSC integration suite, that will be a software library implementing the interface described in the EOSC interoperability framework guidelines. All these results will be available in a new environment that has been called the EOSC Core Innovation Sandbox, that is like a test environment. We will go through the Core Innovation Sandbox after in a very detailed way. We will complete the project applying all the EOS technical, this new EOS technical architecture that we are defining, applying to using the pilots node to test our result. So there will be national, regional infrastructure node, also thematic node that we will build, showcase, and use case using all our work. The project started in April 2024. Now we are likely in the middle. We will land in the 2027 March. In our first year of progress, we worked mainly in 4 activities. We started to define the EOSC technical architecture. We designed the new core services for the integration suite and execution framework. We released a first version of the innovation sandbox. We started the work with the pilot nodes. In detail, for the technical architecture, we defined a first draft of the architecture that was published in a concept paper. We also contributed to the EOSC Federation handbook, in particular in the chapter 4. We designed a first node architecture that is based also on a first version of the node registry. This summer is planned to have a new version of the concept paper with the updated content, new topics. It's important to highlight, talking about architecture, that we are moving from an architecture that was built just considering one node to towards a federated architecture composed by different nodes that share services. So a node can share his capabilities, but can also use the capabilities supplied by the other nodes. This is just a first view. I'm going very fast because I would like to concentrate in the sandbox part. This is just the first draft of the node registry that will enable the discovery of available nodes from which their individual capabilities can then be retrieved. It's important also to highlight the new core services like the integration suite. The integration suite is like a community-powered library of integration components that we call adapters that connect EOSC services and research outputs, fostering seamless interoperability and scalable service integration. Actually, we planned to have different kind of adapters for the EOSC services like helpdesk, PID, and so on. An important result of the project is also the profile of the adapter that we defined, specifying the main metadata. Talking about the second important EOSC core service, the new EOSC core service is the execution framework that is designed to facilitate the dynamic deployment and composability of services within the EOSC ecosystem. In this case, so we are not just developing a resource catalog, but our challenge is to develop a complete environment where the user can select the interested resources like dataset and services and obtain an execution environment where the researcher can do his analysis, the analysis that they want. All these new core services, as I anticipated, will be available in the EOSC Core Innovation Sandbox. A first release open to external user has been released in last March. What is the sandbox is mainly a pre-production environment of the EOSC platform. Has been conceived like a testing and staging environment where the provider, different stakeholders can test their solution. Has been developed thinking to be equipped with advanced automation tools. So the main feature of the EOSC Core Innovation Sandbox are that will supply federating capabilities. There is a part to support an area dedicated to the technical support, so to support the development of the services, the capabilities from different stakeholders that can be pilot nodes or service provider. There are also, at the end of the project, there will be published in the EOSC Core Innovation Sandbox also showcase of the new EOSC Core capabilities. Talking about the stakeholders, so the provider of the sandbox, the main stakeholder of the sandbox are the pilot node, the EOSC node in general, and the service provider. This kind of stakeholder can test and validate the integration of a node or services within the EOSC Federation, can receive technical support in the integration process, currently can test the integration of different federating capabilities like resource catalogs and marketplace, order management, AI, monitoring, help desk, and so on. All these core services and capabilities are offered to our pilot nodes. In the project, we adopted a very structured methodology. We started analyzing the needs and the user story of the pilot nodes involved in the project. At the end, we defined the different use case that highlight the interaction between node services to implement the user story. This is a view of the different pilot nodes involved in the project. We have Metro, Food, NIFOS, CESSDA, EGI, but we will see concretely today the presentation of three of them. It's important also to highlight that an important stakeholder for us is also a simple end user, like a researcher. Also, the end user will have the possibility to use the sandbox to test, for example, to log in with his institutional credential. He can discover services, dataset, and other research products, order a service, download or transfer dataset. It's a testing environment, so he could use the sandbox as tutorial without being worried of his action. This now you can see which are the federating capabilities that are offered for integration in the actual version of the sandbox. For each capability is available in the documentation hub. So the tools, the area dedicated to the technical support, a specific section where the user can find the description of the capability, which are the endpoint, the documentation for the integration, or in case is a capability dedicated to the end user, also the user guides. In general, all the tools that he needs to understand how can be, in the case of a node, how the node can be integrated with or can use the capability, and also all the tools that are available also to be supported in the integration activities. This is the example, the overview of the provider portal. In this case, there is a user interface where the provider can onboard, can understand how to onboard the resources, access to the provider dashboard to manage the onboarded resources, also access to the application programming interface, where you will find, for example, the APIs endpoint. You can generate the APIs key and so on. For talking about the roadmap for the sandbox part, as I told you, we released a first version of the sandbox open to the external user last March. In May, we had a new release with a new catalog populated with the resources coming from the pilot node and a new version of the front end. We will have an important deadline next September for the external provider and the pilot node, because we will have a demo for the project review. So we will demonstrate the different result reached for the with the pilot implementing the user story. We planned to have the first ready for external provider version for March 2026. That's all for my side.
Thank you, Nicola. So this was a very thorough presentation of the Innovation Sandbox. Again, if you have questions for Nicola about the Innovation Sandbox, please use the Q&A box. They will be addressed at the end after these other 3 presentations that we have. So I'm now going to invite Fabrizio Antonio from the CMCC Foundation to talk about the ENES pilot node in the EOSC Beyond project. So Fabrizio, let me find you.
Yes, maybe Federico, you have to enable. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, okay, can you see my camera? Yes. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining the webinar. I'm Fabrizio Antonio, a computer scientist at CMCC in the Advanced Digital Innovation Center. In this presentation, I'm going to briefly introduce the ENES pilot node, which is a thematic node targeting the climate community, but at the same time, aiming to provide services that could be of potential interest for researchers from other disciplines and domains. So the ENES pilot node comprises several key components, delivering a provenance-enabled data science environment on top of the European Open Science Cloud infrastructure. More specifically, it provides access to a rich ecosystem of data science and machine learning tools for big data processing, interactive analysis and visualization, as well as provenance capabilities for tracking and managing provenance information related to large-scale experiments. On the right side, we have a view on how the ENES pilot node looks like in the context of the nodes federation, showing both the integration with core services offered by the EOSC Beyond Sandbox and the interactions with the other pilot nodes. So among the components, the ENES infrastructure proxy plays a crucial role in managing aspects related to authentication and authorization and facilitating access to the service delivered by the ENES pilot node. Indeed, it acts as a middleware interacting with the community AI, which is managed through the EGI check-in service. And in addition, it is configured to enable access to users coming from the other pilot nodes. The next 2 slides will briefly introduce the main services offered by the ENES node to the Federation. As anticipated, ENES Lab delivers a scalable and cloud-enabled data science environment accessible through the EOSC AI Federated Identity and Access Management System. It provides both compute and storage resources, along with a set of libraries and tools for data analysis and visualization. The node also provides access to a thematic data catalog implemented through the stack specification, which represents a common language for describing geospatial information. The catalog includes a set of curated data from well-known initiatives, like, for example, CMIP, the Couple Model Intercomparison Project, that users can easily search, browse, and access either through the Stack browser or the Stack API, which provides a RESTful endpoint that enables search of Stack collections and items. And the other 2 services targets provenance management within end-to-end scientific workflows. As we know, provenance refers to the historical record of data from its original sources, so it represents valuable accompanying documentation for scientific data and experiments, providing historical context, documenting data transformations, and strengthening data trustworthiness and authenticity. So this plays a relevant role in open science, also considering that provenance is a key enabling factor for reproducibility. In this regard, the provenance service is an interoperable and domain-agnostic service designed to properly deal with provenance information in a standardized way. The service exposes a RESTful API for storing, retrieving, and managing provenance information compliant with the W3C Prof standard, thus ensuring interoperability and facilitating workflow reproducibility. Provenance documents can also be accessed through the Provenance Explorer, which provides a convenient tool for accessing and navigating provenance information both in textual and graphical way. So in terms of integration with the EOS Core service, in addition to the AI service integrated both in the ENES lab and the provenance service, the ENES pilot node has also been integrated with other EOS Core services, like for example the service catalog, as a way for enhancing the discoverability of the ENES services, which are published and available in the EOS Beyond marketplace. We have integration with the EOS Beyond help desk. In this case, users can log in to the centralized multi-tenant support system via the EOSC AI to create support tickets. And here, any request will go through a first-level authentication and then will be assigned to the specific ENES group if this request refers to any of the services provided by the node. And finally, we have the integration with the service monitoring for keeping track of metrics like availability, reliability, downtime, related to the ENES service over the time, thus ensuring that the service and operational level agreements are met. But as explained by Nicola, this is also useful for users to assess the quality of the service provided by the node. And here is a short demo to see very briefly how users can concretely benefit from these integration activities and how they can exploit the services offered by the ENES node. So here we can see how to access the ENES lab through the EOSC AI using a specific community AI, so the EGI check-in in this case. So you will get access to a Jupyter Lab environment, and this is a notebook showing an example of data analysis. So of course, as a first step, we may want to explore data catalog through the intake utility. This is useful to know what datasets are available before loading and analyzing a specific dataset. Then we can select data of interest. Here, for example, we are selecting the surface air temperature from a CMCC climate model related to both the historical and future scenarios experiment, and we can use these data sets to compute some analysis. So in this case, we have the seasonal climatology and seasonal anomaly. As you can see here, in this case, we are also collecting provenance information at runtime, so during the workflow execution, thus keeping track of all the performance steps along with input data and intermediate and final products. And after running this simple analysis, we can also visualize the results. And here is, for example, one of the maps generated for a specific experiment. The generated provenance information can be exported to a PNG image to get a graphical view of the provenance graph, as well as to a JSON file that we can store to the provenance service through the dedicated API. This operation requires to be authenticated and authorized. So before performing the upload operation, we need to get a valid token that will be validated by the ENES introspection endpoint. Of course, other users may want to access these provenance documents. So to do that, we can use the Provenance Explorer, which provides several ways to load the document, including the corresponding API offered by the provenance service. And this is the resulting graph showing the entities and the activities from the probe data model, along with all the information about the graph or a specific node. And similarly, you can also use the provenance to the API offered by the provenance service from within the Jupyter notebook. So in this case, you will just have to get the corresponding JSON and export it to a PNG, obtaining basically the same image as before. So to conclude, future activities include the consolidation of the existing integrations, for example, with the monitoring and help desk services. We plan to strengthen the integration with other EOS Core services like the deployment service and the execution framework for enabling the dynamic provisioning, deployment, and configuration of the ENES service on top of the federated cloud infrastructure. And we also plan to strengthen the integration with other pilot nodes from the federation in order to implement more complex use cases involving several nodes, thus demonstrating our research and scientific communities can benefit from this decentralized network of EOS nodes. So that's all from my side. Before concluding, let me thank my colleagues from CMCC and University of Trento, as well as all the project partners for the valuable support that made it happen. Thank you again.
Thank you, Fabrizio. I see there's already a few questions, but we will tackle them later. Okay. So let's get Team Wetzel online. So from DESY, he will introduce the NFDI pilot node in EOSC Beyond.
Sure, thanks for having me. I hope you can see my screen. If not, please pipe up. Otherwise, I'll be introducing our current experience with the EOSC Beyond Sandbox, and I'm presenting this on behalf of the NFDI pilot node team from DESY, KIT, Jülich, and the NFDI itself. You might ask yourself, what's the NFDI? If you haven't heard of it, that's the National Research Data Infrastructure in Germany. Its vision is that data is a common good for excellent research, and it has to be and is organized by the scientific community in Germany itself. So it's a bottom-up driven initiative that was founded around 5 years ago with a federated research or with a federated structure covering the entire research system in Germany. So we've got 306 member institutions in the association that organize themselves into 26 consortia that come from different thematic fields, like you can see on the right, from humanities and social sciences, life sciences, natural and engineering sciences. And then there's one cross-consortia initiative for basic services. All of it is funded with 90 million euros per year, at least until 2028. And they are a mandated organization for Germany in the EOSC Association. And while we are building up the pilot in EOSC Beyond, they are setting up a separate instance, which is the German candidate node for EOSC in the real world, let's say. So what I perceive to be one of our tasks in EOSC Beyond for them is to gather expertise in a technical manner, in a technical way, so we can directly support the efforts to build the NFDI candidate node, which is built up by the NFDI consortia, bundled by base for NFDI and connected via the German research network, DFN. To become the candidate node in EOSC. And we will feed our experience into their build-up so that we can get some of our experiences with technical integrations with all the core services in there, and maybe share some thoughts about how to federate other services, exchange services with the nodes that are in the EOSC Federation from now on. One important topic here is certainly the AAI, authentication and authorization infrastructure. So we've set up our AAI, you can see on the right, or this is the NFDI AAI architectural sketch, more or less, according to the ARC blueprint architecture, which ensures a seamless integration for community AAIs, of which you can see 4 in NFDI for the different communities, under a common umbrella, which is denoted by this EduID proxy on top. So all of this connected to EduGain, to social IDPs, upstream and downstream to infrastructure proxies or community services directly, which seems complicated, but there's a whole load of transparency for users, so they can log in wherever they want with their home institute's login credentials. And if you go a bit more into detail, so you see more or less these community AAI and infra proxy and EduID proxy sketches here in blue and green and yellow. If you convert these into yellow for the Federation Trust layer, I mean, the upper layer Federation identity provisioning is not represented in these small items, but the Institute's services, which are the federated ones we're talking about all the time. You've got a lot of components that need to talk to each other. And in order to achieve, let's say, the inter-federation communication and possibility of sharing services between different nodes, you need this central arrow here, which is a trust relation between different identity proxies from the different federations. So this is what really, in a very core sense, enables federation and interoperability on the lowest level. There's a lot more to interoperability and federation, of course, but this is one of the core components, in my opinion. So that user 2 coming from IDPX, going via this identity proxy to the other identity proxy is recognized as a user that can be identified and therefore be allowed to access, I don't know, data catalogs, compute services, or whatever the institutes are offering. One thing that we are focused on, or me in detail, is data interoperability. So fair data is key for us. So as I've introduced the NFDI with data as a common good for excellent science, we're working on data interoperability. So we're coming up with curation processes and community efforts to make sure that the data treasures are taken care of as they are being produced. So we go for rich metadata that can make reuse a success in the end. And we've demonstrated this by a first internode use case demonstration some weeks ago, where we had someone find a data set in our data catalog, which is denoted here, which is at DESY, let's say. So someone from UPV finds an NFDI data set here, finds the DOI that belongs to it. And this DOI is configured to not only show the landing page, but if you do it in a certain agreed upon way, you can resolve the data locations from the DOI directly, which gives you the data in the storage service, where you can then download data from a Tosca template for the infrastructure manager. You can give it there, use a program to download the data directly into a Jupyter Hub or a VM cluster that's been deployed at a different institute even. So this was the University of Valencia, ISAS and now I'm struggling, Slovenia, Slovakia. I can never distinguish them. And DESY and the EGI node, so these are different entities all working together thanks to standards. So with roughly 2 more years in EOSC Beyond, we hope that we can refine the use cases, demonstrating even more interoperability between different institutes and pilot nodes. We can integrate deeper with federating catalogs and use metadata harvesting for research products. Come up with a service catalog deployment and a policy sketch for our operation mode with federated services, gather even more technical expertise and further integration with interoperable services, so like monitoring, AAI, help desk, and so on, and have a basis for feedback towards the build-up phase of the NFDI candidate node in EOS. And with that, I say thank you and give back to Federico.
Thank you, Tim. Again, if you have any questions specifically for Tim, feel free to add them in the Q&A box. We will tackle them in a bit. And now I'm calling John Shepherdson from CESSDA, and we will introduce the CESSDA pilot node, the last one for today.
Okay, so I'm John Shepherdson, and I'm going to talk to you briefly about the CESSDA pilot node. CESSDA is the consortium of European social science data archives, and it's an ERIC, which is a European Research Infrastructure Consortium. We have 22 European member countries, which are marked in the darker red, and 12 partners, which are marked in the lighter colors. Okay, so the CESSDA pilot node. We haven't built a massive software. It is, in fact, a logical entity, and it integrates a number of the core services from the sandbox. It makes several CESSDA services, which are focused on the social science domain, available to the other nodes. And it allows researchers who come to the CESSDA pilot node to access services from the other nodes in the network. And our aim is to combine some or all of the above services in order to support a number of scientific user stories. And those user stories, the two that we're focusing on at the moment, are to allow researchers who want to find a particular instrument that's been used in some research and is available via another node to find out where that instrument is and use single sign-on to be able to reserve access to the node and carry out some research. So that's just to demonstrate coming from the CESSDA node, going to other nodes to access resources. And then we have one which is to demonstrate how researchers from other nodes can find studies covering, in this case, political and social radicalism in Greece. They come then to the CESSDA data catalog, jump off to the ECE catalog, which is the Greek CESSDA service provider, and they can use single sign-on to apply access to protected data sets and download them and use them. So Tim's given a very good explanation of how the EOSC community AAI works. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner, that infra proxy is the CESSDA has its own instance of a proxy, and that's protecting some of our resources like protected data sets and other things. So we're using the community AAI to protect and allow access to CESSDA resources. We're using the community help desk. There's a special group which, if an issue is put into that group in the central help desk, then it appears in the CESSDA instance of the help desk. And if it's updated at either help desk, then the changes can be seen by the other help desk. So there's a bi-directional communication between the two help desks. We use the service monitoring, so that provides availability and reliability information for 7 CESSDA service endpoints. We use the marketplace. We published a number of services, 6 so far. Publications, so research outputs, 400 odd publications are in, and we also have a data set in there a data source in there as well. Service accounting and PID service, we're working on those in the next month or two. We're not integrated with them yet. In terms of the exchange services, those are the social science-based services that the CESSDA node is making available to the other nodes in the network. There's the European Language Social Services Thesaurus, which provides definitions of terms and links between them for data curators to use. There's the data catalog, which allows researchers to search for data sets and studies, and that now has a number of collections. So as well as the main data catalog, there are 3 collections which are subsets of the data there, so that researchers can hone down to a particular theme or area that they're interested in. The CESSDA vocabulary service, which is a service for curating and publishing controlled vocabularies. Again, these are used by data stewards, etc., when they're creating, curating metadata descriptions. And then there are 2 training resources, the Data Archiving Guide and the Data Management Expert Guide. So the challenges we've faced so far basically is the seamless integration in order to support the scientific user stories. So actually putting together the core services, exchange services, and maybe some horizontal services to enable these user stories isn't entirely straightforward, but we expect to have completed it for the 2 that I've mentioned here in the next few weeks. And then beyond that, we're looking to incorporate some horizontal services such as compute or storage or data transfer to extend the range of scientific user stories that we support and offer to researchers. So that's me. Thank you very much for listening, and sorry about the technical glitch earlier on.
Thank you, John. So at this point, I would ask all of the speakers to turn on their camera again so that we can tackle the questions that were asked in the box. So we actually already have one for, let's start with the one from Claudio, which was asked first. So this one is for Fabrizio. So does provenance include citation of assessed data? How do you deal with different licenses for data?
Thank you, Claudio, for your questions. So starting from the first one, at the moment, provenance does not include citation of data. Basically, any object in the provenance document comes with its persistent identifier. So in principle, maybe you may access to a specific object by its PID and get several information, including, for example, the citation, if available. And this is, for example, the case of the CMIP data, which include a data usage license metadata field that, of course, can be accessed along with all the other global attributes. So in terms of a license, indeed, while there is something that we don't manage at the moment. So basically provenance is tracked regardless of the specific license associated with the data. But maybe in the future, we may consider enriching the set of metadata to include, of course, this information. So definitely this is a good point that we can keep in mind for future activities. So thanks again for the questions.
Thank you. And then there was this question from David. I think it's mainly for Nicola, but maybe it's also like somewhat linked to what Tim was presenting in terms of the connection between the NFDI node in the EOSC Federation and this one. But let's start with Nicola. So is there any planned coordination between EOSC Beyond and the EOSC Federation build-up group? What's the status?
This is a very good question. Give me the possibility to clarify what is beyond, what is the work that now the European Commission are doing in the Federation. So talking about EOSC Beyond, it's important to highlight, as I told before in my presentation, that our goal is to build the next generation of the EOSC core services. So we are looking to the future. For this, we are not completely aligned with the work that the EU node is doing. So if you would like, there are not a definition of an agreement between EOSC Beyond and the current the Federation build-up group, but we are open. So if you would like to test your development in the sandbox, you could. But it's an activity that should be in parallel through the EOSC Beyond procedure. So you have to ask, there is a form in the home page. You can submit your proposal. You can, after you can start to test our capabilities.
Thank you, Nicola. And well, I think it's kind of connected. So Tim, basically, I guess the next question was, is there any connection between what is being done in EOSC Beyond by NFDI and what is being done by NFDI in the candidate node?
Well,
Yes.
there is a certain connection, but I think it's more about the general concepts of how we think we can organize stuff in the pilot node to feed it back as a general suggestion to the candidate node. And of course, mixing that with experience we've got from other contexts and federating services within Germany. So this is going to be not a one-to-one translation, but certainly a good set of feedback and suggestions, I guess.
Thanks. Then, well, I'd like John to think quickly about one question, which is like, why should you join as a pilot node? While I answer to the other one that came through the chat. So basically, the slides and the recording will all be made available on the project website. As I just shared the link also to the newsletter, make sure you register to the newsletter so you get all the updates from EOSC Beyond. And you, of course, will have all the links to the recording as soon as it's up, and you will be able to access that. So, John, back to you.
Yes, I would say it's a great opportunity to actually experiment with the core services and see what's possible, and not just the core, but also the horizontal services. So yes, we know within CESSDA what services we've got and how our researchers can use them. But if we want to open up some new possibilities, then such as the scientific user stories that I briefly described, and others besides, we can't enable that sort of thing on our own. So we have the opportunity at very little effort and cost to combine other services. We don't have to host the core services locally. We don't have to maintain and configure them locally. We just get to use them. So it's a great benefit and an easy way to experiment for us.
Thank you. So I don't know, is there any other burning question from the audience? I don't see any left in the Q&A. Let's see. Okay, I think we can wrap it up. Thanks everybody for being with us today. And as I was saying, so you will find all the materials online soon. So you will get the message through the social media and then of course through the newsletter when everything is ready. I'll see you soon and keep following the EOSC Beyond channels. Bye everyone.
Thank you.